Anker Soundcore 2. This chunky little sound machine packs a bass wallop that will make your picnic table vibrate. And if you drop it in the pool, which you definitely will, it just keeps playing because it is waterproof. Battery life clocks in at a frankly unreasonable 24 hours, so you could actually forget your real friends and make this your only party companion. Sure, the bass could be punchier, but for the price, it's the portable powerhouse that makes the big guys tremble. 8 out of 10. JBL Go 2. Pocket-sized and eager, the JBL Go 2 blasts out tunes louder than you expect, even if it looks like a snack for your cat. The bass barely makes an appearance, and the battery life feels like time flew by 5 hours instead of a whole playlist, but it is so rugged and waterproof that you can toss it at your dog, and it will survive the trip. If you want tiny sound for tiny money, this cute brick works, but it is more good background noise than Block Party Beast. 6 out of 10. Soundcore Anker Mini. The Soundcore Mini is so small it almost disappears in your palm. But let's not mistake its size for meekness. 15 hours of battery and a surprising thump make it your little hype man for lunch breaks. It has more connection tricks than your average magician. Bluetooth, AUX, micro SD, even FM radio. But if you hunt for waterproof stats or top-tier Bluetooth, you will search in vain. For ultra-cheap, ultra-tiny musical joy, just do not kick it under the couch. 7 out of 10. Anker Soundcore 3. This speaker shows up ready to jam with chunky sound and a battery life that might just outlast your weekend plans, all for a wallet-hugging price. But crank it up too loud and things get a little fuzzy, with the bass and clarity struggling harder than you at a Monday morning meeting. For mellow listeners and small rooms, it is a fine companion, but party animals should probably keep swiping. 6 out of 10. JBL Go 4. The JBL Go 4 is so tiny it might parachute into your backpack without you even noticing, but when it lands, it launches a much bigger, punchier sound than expected. Plus, you get app support to tweak the EQ until your heart is content. It holds up to dirt, drops, and swimming pool cannonballs. But if you crave proper stereo and wide soundstage, this little mono warrior is not going to blow your mind. Still, it puts other pocket speakers to shame. And for its price and punchiness, it might just be the ultimate toss-it-in-and-go speaker. 8 out of 10. Sony SRS XB100. The Sony SRS XB100 is basically the adventure buddy of the Bluetooth world. Small, tough, and always up for some hot potato salad at your next rainy BBQ, dishing out surprising bass and volume for something that looks like a mini soup can. High notes can get shy, and there is no fancy app to tinker, but it absolutely nails the let's take this anywhere vibe and does not mind getting splashed. Not a room shaker, but for road trips, campsites, or accidental showers, it is hard to beat this value. 7 out of 10. JBL Flip 6. The JBL Flip 6 punches out sound like a tiny party cannon, bouncing bass lines with enough pep to wake your neighbor's dog and still manages to keep vocals crisp amid the chaos. Toss it in your bag, let it get drenched at the pool. It shrugs off water and dust as casually as you, ignoring that group chat, but the battery life maxes out near 11 hours, so plan your playlist wisely. Just beware, those high notes can get a bit hissy in a crowded room, like someone whistling in a karaoke bar. But for the money, this speaker is a real crowd pleaser. 8 out of 10. Ultimate Ears Wonderboom 4. The Wonderboom 4 is the pocket-sized bouncer of Bluetooth speakers, flinging punchy bass in every direction and surviving way more abuse than your last pair of festival shoes, all while looking ridiculously cute. It lasts all day and well into your questionable late-night decisions, but does skip fancy app tricks and microphone nonsense, which means it's here strictly for the good times, not awkward conference calls. Sure, crank it too high and that treble gets crunchy, but this little orb keeps the party rolling anywhere, anytime. Bring snacks, not expectations. 9 out of 10. Anker Soundcore Motion 300. The Soundcore Motion 300 might look shy, but it belts out tunes with confidence, tossing solid mids and a surprising amount of bass for its size and price. Even without a bass boost, your playlists still sound lively enough to inspire some questionable dance moves. Built tough and able to take a splash, plus it sneaks a speakerphone feature in like a secret menu item. Just don't expect earth-shattering audio or audiophile level upgrades. Think more poolside DJ, less concert hall. The app lets you nerd out with EQ and light up buttons, but when the bass boost gets greedy, the sound can trip over itself like a cat chasing its tail. 7 out of 10. Ear Fun You Boom L. Ear Fun You Boom. L thinks it's the life of the pool party, splashing out punchy bass and surprisingly crisp vocals, yet still rocking that bland rectangle look your uncle's old boombox wishes it had. Customizable EQ lets you mess with the sound until you convince yourself it's perfect. And with waterproof chops, you can jam in the shower or drop it in the shallow end without ruining the fun. It skips out on deep sub-bass and style points, but for the price, it's almost too good to be true. Plus, the battery lasts long enough for your entire playlist and everybody else's weird requests. 8 out of 10. Tribit Stormbox Pro. The Tribit Stormbox Pro saunters in, flexing a base that wiggles windows, and a rubberized handle perfect for escaping noisy neighbors or chasing them down with extra volume. Packing up to 24 hours of playback, a snack-worthy power bank feature, and enough waterproofing to survive a cannonball, it's basically the overachieving roommate who never complains and throws the best parties. Sure, orchestral tracks shine, though max volume can make the brass go a bit wild, but that's just proof it's ready for chaos when you are. 9 out of 10. Sony SRS XB23. Sony's SRS XB23 rolls in with a snazzy tube shape and enough pastel colors to make your speakers match your outfit, serving up respectable bass, clear vocals, and a battery life that won't bail before your barbecue ends. It's waterproof and surprisingly tough, but loses its cool at high volumes, with the bass giving up before the party does, and treble that only sometimes sparkles. If you want solid sound and fancy design without the big boom, it's reliable, but not rocking the house. 6 out of 10. Ultimate Ears Everboom. The Ultimate Ears. Everboom looks ready to survive a tumble-down Everest, and it blasts music in all directions so everyone at the cookout can enjoy your questionable playlist. It packs a punchy bass for its size, but let's be honest, it is not throwing the party across the block. Think enthusiastic dog bark rather than earthquake. The sound gets garbled when you crank it up, so keep it chill or risk turning your favorite EDM track into a confused soup of rhythm. 7 out of 10. Sonos Roam 2. Sonos Roam 2 proves you can fit big sound into something that looks suspiciously like a designer water bottle. Pop it in your bag and you will forget it is even there until your friend insists on playing their breakup ballad at the pool. It is rugged, waterproof, and the battery lasts long enough to soundtrack a whole day's adventure, though no floating or Google Assistant tricks here. Just plain musical goodness. The price flirts with the $100 mark, so it squeaks onto this list. Great sound and style, just do not let it go swimming. 8 out of 10. Harman Kardon Aura Studio 4. The Harman Kardon Aura Studio 4 shows up looking like a spaceship ready to launch, and then makes your room thump with enough bass to scare the neighbors and soothe your stressed soul. It shines indoors with crisp sound and mesmerizing lights, but Bluetooth 4.2 is so ancient it is basically using carrier pigeons, so do not expect any modern party tricks. If you are all about bass and want your living room to double as a mini club, great. But for portability or future-proofing, look elsewhere. 6 out of 10. Anker Soundcore Motion Boom. This speaker is basically a boombox in disguise, toting a handle and an attitude that says, let's ruin silence everywhere. Its waterproof body shrugs off rain or clumsy pool drops, while the battery just keeps going like someone forgot to tell it to stop. But the bass up button promises chest-thumping rumble, and honestly, it just delivers polite vibrations, like the world's most considerate subwoofer. 8 out of 10. Unze Angle 3 Ultra. If this tiny triangle ever had dreams, they surely involved endless battery life and pretending it had serious bass, because it brings 19 hours of sound and just enough thump for polite toe tapping. Waterproof and super portable, it's perfect for the shower, or for impressing your cat with music that stays just below party loud. But with mediocre bass and Bluetooth lag that makes your video look like an awkward lip-syncing contest, this one's great for podcasts, silly for movies. 7 out of 10. Philips TS5305. Wrapped up in a sleek, water-resistant shell, this speaker wants to party in the pool, but with sound quality that is less beach rave and more tea time with grandma. It keeps music clear at high volume and boasts a respectable battery, though that bass boost feels like a gentle suggestion rather than a command. Definitely classy, but if you want actual punch, you may be left Googling how to add bass with household objects. 6 out of 10. Tribit X Sound Plus 2. This speaker throws a wild party in a tiny box, serving up bass that smacks you in the face, and enough volume to make your neighbors Google noise complaint forms. It survives splashes, gives you 24 hours of battery life, and the companion app lets you play Mad Scientist with the EQ. Even the most basic playlist gets a glow up. If you live for punchy beats and rugged design, it's a champ. But forget to use those EQ settings and you might end up wondering what all the hype was about. 8 out of 10. JBL Clip 5. This little guy clips to anything. Backpack, belt loop, maybe even a brave squirrel, and somehow manages to crank out music with detail and surprising bass for its size, even if you crank it past polite volume at the park. The sound is shockingly clear, especially the vocals. It shrugs off rain thanks to its waterproof rating, and battery life just about gets you through a full day trip before tapping out. Still, if you want dance floor thunder or fill the room volume, you might want to keep scrolling. But for portability and fun, it clips on strong. 7 out of 10. JBL Flip Essential 2. This speaker is the no-nonsense friend who brings the party to the backyard barbecue, but does not try to steal the spotlight. Punchy and full sound with deep bass for its size, solid battery life for a day in the sun, and tough enough for pool splashes without drama. The soundstage actually fills a good-sized room or campsite, though it tapers off if you push the volume to the max, and battery life is not quite as marathon as some rivals. If you want a compact, reliable, fun speaker under $100, this one flips your expectations in the right direction. 8 out of 10. Anker Soundcore Boom 2. This bass beast shows up to your party with loud kicks, sparkly lights, and enough waterproof swagger to float if things get splashy. The sound is punchy and will shake your picnic table, but let's be honest, your mids and highs might leave the dance floor early. If you want your playlist to thump harder than your neighbor's complaints, this chunky box is your budget wingman. But audiophiles, prepare to cringe just a little. 7 out of 10. Sony ULT Field 1. This little tank packs in durability, cheerful design, and a handy ULT button that plumps up the bass like a protein shake, all while fitting in your backpack like last night's regret. Battery life is decent but not legendary, and the sound is solid. Turn on the special bass mode and even your dad's air guitar gets a boost, but switch it off and you might question your life choices mid-song. It is fun, rugged, and built for folks who define subtle as the volume knob is stuck. 7 out of 10. JBL Flip 5. This portable legend cranks out more volume and bass than you'd expect from its size, laughs at rainstorms thanks to being waterproof, and survives barbecue spills like a champ. It is easy to carry, sounds great with almost any music, but secretly misses having stereo sound and a dust flap. The Flip 4's older sibling definitely stole some features on the way out. Still, for your next park hangout or travel adventure, this plucky little speaker is hard not to love. 8 out of 10. JBL Charge 4. The Charge 4 rolls out with a rugged shell that looks ready to survive a pool party, a camping trip, or an accidental tumble down the stairs. Sound is classy and surprisingly refined, but JBL forgot to RSVP the big bass you'd expect from a speaker shaped like a submarine, so club tracks lose their punch unless you crank it. The 20-hour battery life makes it feel more like a reliable sidekick than an impulse buy, but beware. At loud volumes, the audio gets as strained as your friend trying to pronounce Bluetooth after 2 glasses of wine. 7 out of 10. Beats Pill. The Beats Pill comes in looking smooth and sounding punchy, with bass that's brawny enough to rattle a coffee mug but not your soul, especially at low volume. It's got USB-C, voice calls, waterproofing, and a sound signature that's snazzy yet maybe a tad showy. Think workout instructor who still wears neon leg warmers. Great battery life lets you marathon playlists, and Android folks are welcome at the party, but the mids duck out when the music gets wild, so detail lovers might be left swiping for something fuller. 8 out of 10. Skullcandy Terrain. The Terrain is basically the Bluetooth speaker for people who ask, will this survive my backpack? Yes, it's tough, water-resistant, and easy to throw in a bag, but the audio performance sits in a humble zone, with bass showing up only if you turn the volume high enough to make squirrels nervous. Multi-link is neat for double trouble, but to be honest, the sound quality is just fine for background tunes and casual hangs, not turn-up nights. The price makes it a friendly choice for your wallet if your ears are not super picky. 5 out of 10. Klipsch Nashville. This pint-sized boombox struts in with retro vibes and claims 600 millimeters of pure Americana, but its bass is less Nashville stadium gig and more Nashville backyard barbecue when things get loud. The battery life promises up to 24 hours, but reviewers say you might need a coffee refill before your playlist is done, depending on your volume shenanigans. It's stylish for the shelf and fun for your kitchen jam session, but if you crave floor-rumbling bass at your next pool party, you might want to keep swiping. 6 out of 10.